Morning guys, on today's video I just wanted to discuss the new 60 kilowatt hour Leaf that's been announced on a few of the sites over in the States regarding the pricing structure and my thoughts on this, especially going to be used as a private or a taxi vehicle. Now, whilst the 40 kilowatt hour is perfect for my needs, I will be honest, and I think the 60 kilowatt hour would be the more beneficial vehicle in our industry for a few reasons. But first of all, I just wanted to talk about the projected price. Now, as you may or may not be aware, the OLEV grant here in the UK has actually been reduced for BEVs by £1,000, which pretty much puts the 40 kilowatt hour a centre, if I remember rightly. It was 25,100 if I remember rightly, so that's going to be 26,150. So let's just say, for example, it's £26,000, give or take. You might be able to get a little bit of discount. Anyway, excuse me. Now, with those prospected figures that they're actually stating, it's going to be around $5,000 to $6,000. So let's for example, let's just stick to pounds, and let's just say it's going to be £6,000, which basically puts that 60 kilowatt hour a centre at a projected price of about £32,000, which is quite a big bump up from the 40 kilowatt. However, truth be told, if I actually had the choice of the 40 or the 60 from the off, with what I know now, I would have definitely went for the 60. And it's nothing to do with the extra range, it's more to do with the actual degradation of the battery. Now, what I'm getting at with that is that, and this is only applicable to me for what I do on a day-to-day basis, as I've said many times, I very rarely break 100 miles excuse me, in a day. Now, with that in mind, the fact that that new vehicle's got in excess of 230 miles is overkill, which is what I've said many times again before. If you don't need the extra range, buy the battery size that you need on your vehicles that you're going to use for your work. But in terms of degradation, that's a different point. And with what I'm seeing with Beverly in terms of each 20,000 miles equating to around 5% of degradation, which, okay, people have said before, it could actually, on Lease by Pro, it could actually be less than that. Like I said in my last video, in the state of health video, I would actually be performing a test once I've lost, according to Lease by, that 10% of range. But going back to the 60 kilowatt hour, after about 120,000 miles, which is about, well, let's say 140,000 miles, which is about 4 years ownership on what I do, I would still effectively have more than what this car's got currently brand new. In fact, I'd probably have an equivalent of about 43, 44 kilowatt hour battery pack, even with those kind of miles. So the point I'm trying to make, guys, is that for me and for you, if you can hold out for the 60, I would do so. And the other point I wanted to make is regarding your finance plan. Now, most of us get our finance plans over 3, 4 or 5 years, and with that in mind, because of the extra range you're going to get on that vehicle, and to a lesser effect, you're still going to get degradation, but it's going to be on a lesser scale. You could actually negate that degradation and factor that into your costings, which could actually make a big difference. Instead of getting a car over 4 years, you could probably go over 5 years. There's a lot less things to go wrong, admittedly. I don't know what exactly the costings are going to be involved, because I haven't got there at that stage yet, but I'm just talking theoretically right now. That 60 kilowatt would be a lot more beneficial for that reason alone. Now, obviously there's other factors to consider. If you've got the extra range, you could do a lot more motorway miles, which is another plus point in our industry. The 40 kilowatt hour has got a realistic range, I'd say, of about 110 miles at motorway speeds. It does drop considerably, whereas motorway speeds on the 60 kilowatt, you're going to get probably, going by the equation, you're going to get, so it's probably 50% more, so you're probably going to get about 160, 170 miles, which means you're only going to have to need to rapid charge once in any one shift, and that's an absolute maximum unless you're doing several airport runs. And then again, which I've said in my countering discussion regarding rapid gate, okay, it's got thermal management, so you could rapid charge effectively twice. Now, going back to my spec on my 2.0, things like, which you probably know about the spec that it's got over the Ascenta, there's a few things I could actually do with that. They're great little convenience items, admittedly. You've got the 360-degree camera, which is very helpful sometimes. I could kind of do without that. The electronic parking brake, again, could do without it. The automatic dimming rear view mirror, the power folding mirrors, little tiny touches that ain't really that much of a big deal. And in our industry, it's all about saving money and costings. So, as I say, the Ascenta comes with a good enough spec anyway. The only option I would put on the Ascenta, actually thinking about it, I was going to say the heat pack with the heated front and rear seats and the steering wheel. You probably wouldn't need that with the extra power of that battery, so you wouldn't even need that. So again, there's one option you won't need. I believe it comes with a standard reversing camera, so you're only going to lose the front and the sides, and like I say, it's not a major biggie. You still get, I believe, parking sensors as standard, front and rear. And the Pro Pilot I've used 3 times, one of which was actually with one of my friends when I was doing a demonstration. So again, not really needed. And it still comes, I believe, with adaptive cruise control, so you're still going to get cruise control. And again, I don't really use cruise control anyway in any of my other vehicles. I occasionally use it if I'm feeling a little bit lazy, and that's about it. But yeah, so the 60 kilowatt hour, I think, has got to be the vehicle of choice. And like I say, this is nothing derogatory to the 40 kilowatt hour version. This vehicle is performing perfectly for me. Even with the degradation at 130,000 miles, I could probably still find a workaround for it. And I'm hoping in, say, another, 3 years from now, the infrastructure currently in East Anglia, which is absolutely abysmal in my opinion, the major town I work in and another town like Chelmsford, there's not even one rapid charger in those towns. Hopefully that will change in 3 years' time, and effectively then, when they have been installed and my degradation is a bit of an issue, I'll just rapid charge once a day, take a 20-minute break and top it up. So it's not going to be a major biggie, but I do think, like I said a little while ago regarding that longer, if you're going to keep these vehicles like 5, 6, maybe even 7 years, the 60 kilowatts are going to still be performing perfectly for you, even in the winter months at ultra high mileages. It's just a thought, guys, and that is my thoughts on this vehicle. Another little thing that I wanted to mention before I go is when I was looking on my state of health video on the screenshot, I noticed the rapid chargers was about accurate. It was about 42 I think I had, but my level 2 charging, like my home charging, was like up in the 600s, and I've only had the car 7 months. And I was working it out, it's about 210 times I've charged it. I've charged it at home a few extra times, just as a test, when I was doing my test to see how much you get per hour. I think I've charged at home surplus to my overnight charging, I think 10 to 15 times. So basically no more than 230 times I've actually plugged this vehicle in. But Lease by Pro has actually shown I've actually got effectively 3 times that amount. So anyway, yesterday I'd done a test with Lease by Pro, and I actually just plugged it in. The timing lights on the dashboard come up, so it's set for the timer for in the evening when it charges. Locked the car, left it a couple of minutes, unlocked the car, re-fired up Lease Right, and lo and behold, it showed 1 extra charge, like charge cycle, when it hasn't actually done anything. So it's just maybe registering the connections, and then also then when it charges, it's registering another one of those charges. However, I took another screenshot, so I tested it twice last night. I think I started with 662, I think it was, and then I got 663 and then 664. And then I took that screenshot, locked the car up completely, and then when I come down this morning, I fired up Leaf Spy Pro and it was on 667. It jumped up 3, which means Leaf Spy Pro is actually registering approximately 3 charges extra that ain't actually taking place. It's something to bear in mind, because if in years to come, if you're watching this video in years to come, and one of the plus points regarding these vehicles is using Leaf Spy Pro to actually look at a prospective, say, second-hand vehicle, if the seller that's selling the vehicle actually says to you, sorry, I don't want the Leaf Spy Pro in it, walk away. That's my advice, because you should have the vehicle checked anyway. Even if you're not using Leaf Spy Pro, you can actually go to like an inspection centre, or there's loads of places that actually do these kind of things, and it's just like a used car inspection, so they'll check all of this for you. But you could just speed it up by just using Leaf Spy Pro yourself. But if you see that there's been, say for example, 3,000 charges, don't take it as read, because they could actually be incorrectly being recorded by the circuitry on the vehicle. Anyway guys, that's all I wanted to say today regarding the 60 kilowatt hour and that little snippet about Leaf Spy Pro. I hope you're having a good day, and I will speak to you guys soon. Bye for now.